Hey guys, I just wanted to hop back on here. I did a video last week and I did like 5 books. I did 5 books in review, and I was looking today and we've actually been out of school now for 22 days. That's counting weekends, but still 22 days. And I had really wanted to try and do a book review every day. I'm battling a little bit of a medical issue right now, so I apologize. I haven't felt real well to get on camera and do much, so I'm hopping back on here today because I'm feeling pretty good, and I hope to continue to be able to do one a day, but I was going to catch up a little bit. So last week I did these. I try not to drop all the books. I did these when we were online. I did Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. I did Agatha Christie's The Mysterious Affair at Styles. I did Roald Dahl's the BFG. I did 2 Kay Gibbons ones, Ellen Foster and A Virtuous Woman. So I'm just highlighting the books that I have here at home that I know we also have in the library, so that you can request these on as ebooks, or hopefully maybe you have some of these at home, or if not, that whenever we do finally get back into school, you'll have some books on your to be read list that you can look at. So let's look at some more that I have been able to dig up. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. This is definitely an adult book, definitely mature reading. It's really gained in popularity the last couple of years because I believe it's HBO. I think it's HBO. They did a series with The Handmaid's Tale. And it's been around a long time, like so maybe the 80s. I'd say late 80s is probably when it was published. You can see this is my copy from whenever I was in let's put it that way. Whenever I was in college, I studied this my freshman year of college. 1986 is when this was published. But especially right now, we're in some really strange times. So these kinds of books are popular. They're kind of apocalyptic, dystopian kind of books. They're set in the future of what would happen if the government or some of the way that our systems are set up, if those systems break down. So really good. Again, though, very mature reading. So probably just mainly recommending that to seniors, mature juniors and seniors, because it is very mature. But it is also what I would call a modern classic. Margaret Atwood is still alive. So, you know, you can go online and hear her talk about this quite a bit. But again, highly recommend that one. The Girl with All the Gifts. Here's another apocalyptic kind of book. If you like The Walking Dead, you would really like this one. It is by M.R. Carey. It is kind of thick, so it's a big one. But right now, you might want to get lost in a book. This is a really good one to get lost in. There is a virus that has gone around, and it is affecting people. The main characters are a group of kids that it has really affected, and then their teacher. So really good. Again, a little bit more mature. I would say this was probably written for adults. I read it a couple of years ago. It's a good thriller. It has a great ending, and it's definitely one of those that is more apocalyptic. I have one Sue Grafton that I have here. We have, I think, more at school. The one that I have is M for Malice. You may know Sue Grafton. She writes mystery novels, and all of her mystery novels are from a letter of the alphabet. So it's like A is for, B is for. I have not read the whole series, but I did read M is for Malice, and I love a good mystery suspense novel. And again, it is an adult book, kind of hefty, but a good read. I have a whole slew. You can see I really like John Grisham. Let's see here. I'm not going to talk about each one of these individually. But these are the ones that I have here at home that I have read. What's on the bottom down there? The Brethren. The Client is a really good one. This is one of his older ones. Here we go. Most of John Grisham's books have been turned into movies, so some of these may sound familiar to you because you've seen the movies. Most of them are based on a lawyer's story. When I say a lawyer story, though, there's always some kind of corruption that's going on. They are very fast-paced. They're page turners. They're thrillers as much as they are crime novels. Most of them are crime novels. So we've got The Brethren, we've got The Client, we've got The Innocent Man. This is a fun one to talk about, though. The Innocent Man, he wrote, let me see. This is a nonfiction one. He's got a couple of different genres, but not many. Most of his are like these, like the lawyer novels that are crime novels. But The Innocent Man, Murder and Injustice in a Small Town. John Grisham was traveling one time, and he picked up the local paper, and he read this article about a trial that was going on in that small town, and then he did all the research and wrote about that man's story. So super interesting. Again, that would be a good one to Google and read a little bit more about how John Grisham came on that story. But love that. Let's see, let me go from the bottom here. The King of Torts. For me, this is around John Grisham's career when it started getting a little slower. So I really like his early novels, and then I think he's picked up a lot in the last couple of years too. So King of Torts. A Painted House. This is one that does not follow in his regular lawyer kinds of books. He talks about this being kind of autobiographical, but it is a novel, definitely fictionalized. You are in September of 1958, and I was trying rural Arkansas, and it centers around a 7-year-old boy. So this is a little different, especially if you're used to reading John Grisham's crime novels, and then you pick this up, you're going to be like, is this the same guy? But he is definitely talented in being able to write very different kinds of books. So let me move those over there. I'm hoping not to have a avalanche of books here. The Partner, The Rainmaker, and The Summons. All of these are also John Grisham. You can see I obviously like John Grisham. He does write for adults, so there are some, adult qualities that are in there, but mainly they're crime novels. They're crime and lawyer. They're cases that you walk through the case with him. So gonna set those over there. Here's an author that I met at the Books by the Banks. You guys know I always talk about that festival that is usually in October in Cincinnati down at the Duke Energy Center. Anna Lee Huber. This is called A Grave Matter. It's a Lady Darby here. Mystery. I'm trying to think if this is the first one. There are 4 or 5, I think. No, the first one is the Anatomist Wife. The Anatomist's Wife, sorry. You can see that's like right here. That was her first one. I really, really like these. They are set in Scotland in 1830, so they are period pieces. The main character, her husband, she was married. It was not a good marriage, but she was married to a man who was doing some criminal activity. He was the anatomist, and she was the anatomist's wife. And in the first book, that has ended, and she is trying to get back part of her life. She goes to live with her sister, and then there's always a mystery. There's always something that happens, a murder or something that she's drawn into, and she has some skills. This is not anything supernatural, but she has some skills that helps where she can help the local law enforcement. So I've read, I think, the first 3. There's probably about 5. She may have just put another one out. She wasn't at the last Books by the Bank, so I'm not really sure what her latest one is. But again, if you like period pieces, especially girls, there's a lot of romance in every one of these books, and they're just lovely. They're just lovely. So highly recommend her. The Unchangeable, Spots of Leopards. You can see this is definitely one that's a literary novel. I have lots of markings in there, and I didn't take them out after I finished it. It's by Christopher Jansma. I don't know if that's right. But I read this for a class that I did with the Ohio Writing Project, and then we talked with the author afterward. But a very heady kind of book where you're reading, you really want to take your time reading it. It's fantastical in a weird way. I'm going to read this one part because it's really difficult to describe this one. As much a story about a young man and his friends trying to make their way in the world as it is a profoundly affecting exploration of the nature of truth and storytelling. Here you go. The Unchangeable, Spots of Leopards is a warm, witty, and inventive literary tour de force that heralds Jansma as a bold new American voice. I would say that's a really good summary of that. But I did really enjoy it. It's very different, but like I said, you can see there are a lot of times when I stuck a Post-it note in there and I wrote down the quote thinking, wow, this is really cool. Or the way that he describes this would be a good example to use in a class. So really enjoyed that one. Highly recommend. Again, written for adults. You're going to get a lot of that in the high school library. We do have a lot of young adult books, but obviously we have a lot of books where we are transitioning you from reading books that are written for young adults to books that are written for adults, or literary books. or ones that you're seeing in movies, like especially the John Grishams. Anytime the movie came out, I made sure that we had the book because people are going to ask for it. One of my favorite books of all time, John Irving, A Prayer for Owen, Meany. It's a lovely, lovely book. You can see it's also pretty hefty. John Irving is definitely a modern classic kind of guy. I'm trying to see when this was written. If you plan on studying English when you go to college, 1989. If you plan on studying English, he's a good one to have under your belt to have read. And definitely during a break like this, when you have time to sit down and just really enjoy a book on the back porch, this is a lovely, lovely story. Owen Meany is the main character in the book. This is definitely one that's written where boys or girls would enjoy it. But guys, if you're looking for a literary book and you're having a hard time, you feel like a lot of them have girls as main characters, this would be a good one for you. Owen Meany, who's the main character, he's a little guy, and by little I mean he is a little guy. He has something physically that is keeping him from growing up. His mother is killed when he is very, very young. It really impacts his life. He has a great friend base, but he feels like there is more to life for him, that there's a reason for him to be here. And again, just a lovely, lovely story. Be Frank with Me. This is an adult novel. Julia Claiborne Johnson. Frank is a little bitty guy. And again, he has a lady who comes in to help his mom. His mom is a writer, but she's not doing a very good job, and they need another book out of her. So her editor sends this lady to go and basically take Frank, her son, off her hands so she can get some writing done. And Frank is, you can see this little picture here. Frank is just, he's an old soul. You're going to fall in love with Frank. You're going to feel a lot for Frank. The lady who comes in, I can't remember what her name is. No, Mimi is his mom, Alice. Alice Whitley arrives at the Banning mansion. She's put to work right away. She's a full-time companion to Frank, the writer's eccentric 9-year-old boy. And he wears clothes that are like a 1930s movie star. He has very little in common with his fellow fourth graders. And did I say Alice? Yeah. Alice learns very quickly that Frank is very special, and that not only is she there to help Mimi write her book or make sure that Mimi gets the book written, but she really comes to love Frank and try and mother him. So a good one, again, also written for adults. Here's a YA one, The 13 Little Blue Envelopes by Maureen Johnson. Maureen Johnson has several books in the library. I'm trying to think of which other ones. They're not going to list them here, of course. Which other ones I've read. I've read a couple of hers. I like 13 Little Blue Envelopes. The main character is Jenny, I believe. And Jenny's aunt leaves her 13 little blue envelopes of things that she needs to do. So it's kind of a journey. We have a lot of these books that are like a journey. Somebody is tasked with doing something for the summer. But inside the little blue envelopes is $1,000 and instructions to buy a plane ticket. In envelope 2 are directions to a specific London flat. But can you hear the birds? The birds going a little crazy up there. The note in envelope 3 tells Jenny, find a starving artist. And because of envelope 4, Jenny and her artist, a playwright, thief, bloke about town called Kevin, so you see a little love interest in there, go to Scotland together with somewhat disastrous, though utterly romantic results. Jenny isn't sure she'll see Keith again and definitely doesn't know what to think about him. But could the answer be in these envelopes? So definitely a journey of growing up. It is a YA novel. I think that Maureen Johnson, all of her books are a YA novel. She wrote The Keys to the Firebird, I think is the other one that I read. And I feel like there's one more that we have in the library that I've read. But this is more of a fun book. Again, not too difficult to tackle, but really enjoy that one. And then I know that I'm going to come up with more than 22 here. I was trying to catch us up. So I'll just do all the Jan Karens together because this is all an actual series. None of the other books that I covered were actual series. Like John Grisham's are all standalone. Sometimes they'll give you the same character, but they're all standalone. They don't work. You don't have to go one to the other. Whereas Jan Karens definitely are a series. We have these in the library. They are adult novels. They're written for adults. They lean more, they're not written as religious texts, but they definitely lean towards some spirituality, some religious thought in there. They are fiction. They're complete fiction. They take place in the town of Mitford. Some of them. These two are from Mitford, and then the main character is a pastor, Father Tim Kavanaugh. I want to say there's like probably 9 or 10 in this series. And then after she did these, then she went back and wrote, oops, sorry, phone's being, there we go. She went back and wrote about Holly Springs, which is where Father Tim grew up. So I do love these. These are very much feel-good stories, especially at a time like this. You might want to read like The Girl with All the Gifts, the apocalyptic one that's talking about a virus taking over the world. But then you may want to come back and find something that's a little more comforting too. And that would be what the Jan Karon ones are. So went a little over 22, but I'll try and drop one, a book review out there each day as I'm feeling better and recuperating here a little bit. But again, I miss you guys. I'm glad to get to talk to you. I hope that you're getting some reading done. I'll be honest, I have not been able to read very much with the pain level that I'm on right now. Just have not been able to get too much read. I did start Sing Unburied Sing last week, which again is a good literary novel, especially for our college-bound kids. It's a good text to tackle. It's won a lot of awards, but I have not really gotten to read very much this so far. So I'm hoping that I'm turning a corner here, going to get some more reading done. I'd love to hear what you're reading. Shoot me an email, comment on one of our posts, but whichever way, I do hope that you're getting to read some and enjoying some of your time here. So especially today with the weather being beautiful, hopefully you got outside. So yeah, keep in touch. I am trying to throw some of these videos out there, give you some more book reviews. I've been posting on the library website. And again, that's been kind of sporadic, so hoping to pick that up a little bit more next week. So I know it's the end of your spring break, but you know, I didn't get to go anywhere for spring break, so we're just kind of here and continuing. So good talking to you guys. Bye.